Hi, I'm Dracon, and this is the DrakenWerks, and we're here back on the Unorthoblocks server for episode 32. 32 episodes in, this is still ticking on over here. You can see in the background how far we come with the DrakenSpire. It's a lovely, majestic view in the background. But as you remember last week, we started planning out, as we were starting to get close to finishing the inner city, we started planning out a bit of the outer city, and that got me a bit excited about the idea of doing the outer city. So I went out and had a look at it here, and before we go and have a look at it in too much detail, you got these, I saw these guys crop up, you know. This is why we have fortified walls. They're all bouncing around on the outside there. I think there's two parties there, but it's almost like we've got armies besieging the wall there. But you know how some YouTubers and Twitch streamers would turn around and say, oh, I've done a little bit of mining off camera. Well, I've done a bit of building off camera instead of a bit of mining, and this is what we've come up with. So you remember we planned out some of the sections, and they always say, you know, a good sort of building has to have good foundations at the bottom there. And that's what we have here. So I built the foundations. I spent a good few days this week sorting this out, working through the moat, turning around, terraforming the moat over around the outside there, but also building all the foundation platforms here on all the towers on the side. And it's expansive ground. So this is going to be sort of the basis of, like, it's about 1/3 of the outer city, I'd say, judging it roughly, approximately. And we're going to have this lovely lake in the middle as well, so we'll make sure that's a nice little feature in the middle of this bit here, this section on this side here. But yeah, it's going to be about 1/3 of the city itself. But let's have a time lapse and see how far we got. and this is the east gate leading into the city, or the new east gate. We haven't finished quite building this bit. I'll probably put some banners out there, and obviously we have to do the outside bit, but as we come in here, you can see all the bits that we've been building there, and you can see now it's starting to feel like a proper city. You've got the spire looming in the background there, sort of casting its shadow over everything, but then we've got all these nice little houses here. Now I decided to go forward with this one. I went for a bit of an idea of a design of like trying to build houses that I could build quickly, because I know I had to build a lot of them to fill up the outer city, but at the same time something that I can sort of, was a sort of general design that was easy to build, but I could also put a lot of variance into it and still make it look like it fits in with the rest of the city. So that's what these little cottages and bungalows are here. So you can see we've got loads here. And I've taken a lot of inspiration from a lot of other YouTubers, including Grey on our own server, but we've also got some of the others as well. I've got Lady Bex as well, who also does some great stuff. And also some of the other YouTubers out there, like Blue Nerd, for example, and some of the work that they do with their rustic style things. So I've taken a bit of inspiration there as well in the way that we've put this all together. But I quite like the way this works. We've got these nice little roads coming through here. Every now and then we'll have a building that's like 2 stories high, just to break up the sort of the look of it a bit. And we also change the materials on the buildings and like what the pillars are made out of, whether it's stone brick or whether it's spruce log, and also what the wall material is made out of. Sometimes spruce log, sometimes oak planks, sometimes it will be cobblestone. But we've still got some bits to do on this sort of foundation area. So we've built all this foundation this week and all of these buildings as well, which is quite a fair whack in fairness that we've actually built. But I think next week we're going to probably be finishing off this area and trying to sort of put a bit more variance in here. So mostly all we've built so far is just housing down here, but I think we probably have a marketplace down here, maybe a little church or something like that, a little church square or something around there, just to give it a little bit more difference as well, because we don't want it all to be housing, but the housing is what's going to be filling up a lot of the space. So that's why we were trying to get that sort of perfected. So this week was about learning how to build those things and sort of coming up with ideas around that, and I think it's turned out pretty okay here actually. And then you come over to here, we've got this nice little bridge here. I love this like half arch bridge that we have that comes up here. It brings it up to a different level, but also goes over the entryway of the water into the lake there. And then as you can see, as we come down to here, we come up to basically a little bit of a drawbridge that we have that sort of connects over to the inner city itself. So obviously this comes to the end here, and then yeah, here we are. There's the drawbridge that brings us over, and this brings us over the moat, which we've terraformed up, and we are now by the museum and the generators and everything else in the inner city. So that's worked really well. But this moat area as well, I really love. You see, we spent a lot this week as well. A lot of the week was actually doing this, was actually terraforming and digging out the moat. There was already a bit of a river here anyway. I just changed some of the course of it somewhere. Some points I had to reconnect it, and I dig through a few hills to get some of it done. That sort of brings it there that far. But you know, building the moat is quite a task in itself, but if we come over here, you can see how much of the moat is left to be done, because it needs to connect up to the other side of the inner city here, just where this tower is here. That's where the moat is going to end, almost making the inner city, well, pretty much making the inner city its own actual little island in a sense. But it might look like there's a lot to go, and actually the biggest part about what's left to go is that there's a lot to be dug out. And there's a lot of hills on the way. But actually, if you look at the map here, you can see that actually most of the moat has been done. So that moat, and as well as we've got the lake in the middle there done as well, that will all be done. And that's most of the work has actually all been completed. So we've only got a little bit at the bottom there, which you can see just goes off the map at the bottom there a bit, that actually has to be left to be done in the terms of the moat and the terraforming. And then it's just a case of making sure that we get all the foundation slabs in and putting the new districts in. So though we thought this might be quite a big task to do, part of what I'm trying to do is just make sure that this is a faster running task than what I've been doing previously, and you can see that we're making good progress. We're about 1/6 of the way through the outer city already, the work that we've done with the buildings and everything else. But doing this, it gave me some ideas while I was doing this about some of the other things we could be possibly putting out here on the island. Now this area, some people might recognise, the older viewers on my channel may recognise this place. This isn't something new, this is something quite old, and I love this mirror build. This is actually, there's no sort of mod running that causes that to be a mirrored effect. That's actually done by actually just building everything twice and putting a glass floor that's a black glass floor on the bottom there, and it makes it look like it's a mirror build in the mirror throne room. But we are here at Fort Dracon. And no, this isn't a whole brand new build that I built. This is a very old build. And this is like, I've got this now saved into a single player world, but this used to be the old server that I used to run on before things went wrong, and part of it where I built a reservoir and stuff had all gone wrong. If you've seen some of my previous episodes, I talked about what had gone wrong in that previously. But I thought we'd come back here, a bit of a blast from the past, and there's a reason I want to come down here, but it's always nice to come. As I was here, I thought, might as well just do a little mini tour through here quickly. You can see in the corners there, that was actually my mob spawn corner there, and then where the airship was docked up the tower above there was actually an ice farm on the top. And again, it's got a lot of similar principles here in Fort Dracon to that you see in DrakenSpire. So you have the whole sort of that rustic medieval feel through it. The whole thing has got the same colours for the flags and everything else as well. But you also get a lot of the farms. They're all built into the actual build itself, so it's almost like an integral part of it rather than farms being a separate thing to actually building a nice build. I like this idea of actually having your farms built into the build, so it actually still looks quite good and looks quite practical in its sense in itself. But we had 3 districts in Fort Dracon, and this one is always a great one to come down to because you can see where a lot of my inspiration came from ships. So I only had 1 airship built here. I actually built a second one here, a big airship as well, but that was one of the things that got lost when the server backups all got failed and from the server hosting company that we were with before. But there's only like 1 airship in this save that was up in the top tower, but we do have a lot of sailing ships down here. Now these ones are actually just adaptations of designs by Lord Dakar. I've spoken about this previously, how Lord Dakar was quite an inspiration for a lot of his ships on how I built the ships that I build ships later on. So I mean, like the one on the right here, that's like a victory class. That was based on his victory class tutorial. And then on the right, now it's now on the left because I've now turned around. And then the one on the right was also like his, I think it's like 6th rate ship of the line or something like that. He's got a tutorial on there, so they're worth checking out. I'll link them up down below because they're great tutorials, and I use them as sort of inspiration. They're not exactly perfect block for block matching what he built there, but I took those as my initial design while I was learning how to build these sort of things. But I had things like this over here. We had like this dry dock over here with one of these bigger ships as well, one of these first-rate ships of the line, these victory classes sort of docked in here, and we got like the dry dock wall there, the gate wall there that's holding back the water, and the ship's just sat in the dock itself if we don't slip off the stairs there. I want to build a ship of that size again as well on the server. So those ships, the first rate, the victory class, is probably the largest ships I've ever built in terms of sailing ships, and I wouldn't mind putting one of those back onto the server. So we might bring one of those designs over as well. But then we come over here, and this is where I started moving away from Lord Dakar's design and started building my own design. So these ships are all here are sort of my own design, using the sort of ideas and techniques I'd picked up from learning how to do other people's stuff. I then went away and started building my own. I mean, and here's one of the things, like I jumped off there double tapping, just thinking that I was going to be able to fly off like I do with an elytra. Completely forgetting that in this build I never got elytras. I never had an elytra on this. Everything you see built here was built by me using dirt to rappel up and down and everything else. I never gained an elytra. And you know what the crazy thing was as well? I never used to carry beds with me either when I was doing this before, you know. I got a bed with me on now, but I never used to carry a bed with me. So like when it came to night time, wherever I was building, if I was up in the sky or something like that building something, I would then have to come down again and go and find myself to my nearest bedroom and go and sleep in the bedroom there, and then go back and rappel back up on the dirt, which is a really crazy way of doing it. So I'm so glad I've learned some quicker techniques on how to play Minecraft properly there. You learn these things as you go through. But it's like, this is like my old villager trading hall here that you can see around here. You can tell it's an old villager trading hall because there's no workstations, because you didn't need them back in the day. You set the villagers up in a completely different manner. They sort of bred and became the characters that they were straight off the bat there. So this was back in version 13, I believe. This was originally built, this version of this world here. So I think I've adapted it over to version 16 now, but it was originally version 13. So those village traders shouldn't work properly anymore. Well, they might do, because I think the actual if you've got old villagers, they still keep the professions. It's just then if you get any more villagers, they go into the new fine. I think if I remember rightly, it was the difference when you update worlds between those older villager mechanics and the newer ones. But yeah, we had the second dry dock here, which we saw earlier. And that was meant to be a crane, but I think we didn't quite finish that one. There's quite a few bits of unfinished things around here, and not sure how this guy got here. You're right up there, buddy. You seem a bit lost sitting there on the edge there. I mean, nice view, but yeah, that's cool. But the reason why we wanted to come here was, yeah, as much as we like Fort Dracon, it was for this. No, not the anchor. We replicated the anchor into the DrakenSpire, but it was this. It was the Cathedral that we started working on. And this is one of my favorite. This still stands to my day. One of my favorite builds that I have built is this Cathedral here. And the problem is, I never finished it. You can see that the windows aren't in place. The interior was never done. You know, there was bone blocks to be put up around the top part of the central dome spire in the middle there. But I just love. You can see how I've drawn a lot of these sort of ideas and inspirations from what I did on this Cathedral into more modern builds with the DrakenSpire and how the DrakenSpire came together. But to this day, even with the DrakenSpire and as great as DrakenSpire is, this Cathedral is still something that I absolutely love, and I would really have loved to have finished this, and I never got the chance to finish it. So it got me thinking that actually, what if we could bring the cathedral over into our Unorthoblocks world. Well, in the last couple of episodes, you've seen that I've been introduced thanks to some of the builds that we've been doing on server, like when we were working on the Collective HQ and also on the Nether Hub as well, which we need to get back and help some of the guys with some of that as well, because it's getting on, it's progressing well, but it needs some extra help in there, so we need to get in there. But one of the things that we used there was a mod called Lightmatica that enables you to go into one world and basically copy the design and bring it over into another world for you to then build. Now, it doesn't build it for you. It's not like we suddenly get to cheat and suddenly completely cut it and paste it over, but it does give you a schematic that you can work from. So if you design something elsewhere, and it was like, well, actually, we could do this for the cathedral. We could actually turn around and actually enclose, like you can see here and doing here, where I'm grabbing the whole thing, enclose the whole thing into a schematic, a Lightmatica schematic, and copy this into Orthoblocks and see how that would sit compared to Fort Dracon. The other thing is, by bringing the cathedral over, it's also going to give us a sense of scale as to actually how big the DrakenSpire is in comparison to Fort Dracon, which was our previous build. Which, you know, I have this impression, this feeling that DrakenSpire is bigger than Fort Dracon, but Fort Dracon was a fair size as well, let's be fair. So we did that, we brought the cathedral over. So this is the cathedral right on the edge here. Now this is not where I'm saying this is where the cathedral should be, it's just to give me an idea of scale. You can see the schematic there, you can sort of see how big the cathedral is. And I have two ideas. I either want to attach it to the city, so put it somewhere in the city, or maybe build some extra foundations somewhere with it on the edge of the city, and then put extra walls going around it, a bit like we did with Fort Dracon, where we built its own little extra district for it to actually sit in. Or we could turn around and put it on its own somewhere on the island, because I want to build across the entirety of this island. Like, I mean, it's not just this up here, but it's also the rest of the island. And that might sound like a big task, but actually DrakenSpire takes up about a third of the island in itself, and then that leaves us 2/3 of the island, and most of that's going to be farmland. It's going to be the odd little village, the odd forest. It's not going to be as build intensive as it has been for building the actual DrakenSpire city, but it would be nice to put a couple of other little bits and pieces out there. So maybe we might bring over the cathedral over to here as well, because this cathedral, I mean, you can see now the size of it, and yeah, you could definitely say that Fort Dracon is smaller than the DrakenSpire now when you look at the size of the DrakenSpire compared to that cathedral. The cathedral is big, it's bulky, but yeah, in comparison. But I think I might put it somewhere else on the island rather than putting it in the city itself, so that you've got somewhere else to visit on the island. You've got this big cathedral, that'd be quite nice. But let me know in the comments below. Let me know what you guys think I should do with that, because I'm not quite sure yet whether it should belong on the edge of the city or whether I should turn around and build it into its own area there. It could be pretty cool though. I think it could be quite nice. But I'm quite happy with the progress we've done here. I've still got a bit more to do in here, so probably next week I'll be working a bit around the lake area here, probably build some more extra areas around here. But I've been Dracon. This is the DrakenGameWerks. Don't forget to check out the rest of the folks below on the Unorthoblocks server. They have some great builds going on around the place here as well. And we'll catch you all next time. You guys take it easy. Have a great day. Bye.